वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पातरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, so we're going to read from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, 7th verse. You can repeat after me. जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य
जितात्मना प्रशान्तस्य
परमात्मा समाहितः
परमात्मा समाहितः
शीतोष्ण सुखदुःखेषु
शीतोष्ण सुखदुःखेषु
तथा मानापमानयो।
तथा मानापमानयो।
जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य
जितात्मना प्रशान्तस्य
परमात्मा समाहितः
परमात्मा समाहितः
शीतोष्ण सुखदुःखेषु
शीतोष्ण सुखदुःखेषु
तथा मानापमानयो।
तथा मानापमानयो।
जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य
जितात्मना प्रशान्तस्य
परमात्मा समाहितः
परमात्मा समाहितः
शीतोष्ण सुखदुःखेषु
शीतोष्ण सुखदुःखेषु
तथा मानापमानयो।
तथा मानापमानयो।
Anyone would like to recite the verse?
जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य
जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य
परमात्मा समाहितः
परमात्मा
समाहितः
शीतोष्ण सुखदुःखेषु
शीतोष्ण
सुखदुःखेषु
तथा मानापमानयोः।
तथा मानापमानयोः।
जितात्मना प्रशान्तस्य
जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य
परमात्मा समाहितः
परमात्मा समाहितः
शीतोष्ण सुखदुःखेषु
शीतोष्ण सुखदुःखेषु
तथा मानापमानयो।
तथा मानापमानयो। Okay, we'll go for synonyms. Jitatmanaha,
जितात्मनः
of one who has conquered his mind.
of one who has conquered his mind.
Prashantasya,
Prashantasya,
who has attained tranquility by such control over the mind.
who has attained tranquility over such control over the mind.
Paramatma,
Paramatma,
super soul.
the super soul.
Samahitaha,
Samahitaha,
approached completely.
approached completely.
Sita,
Sita,
in cold.
in cold.
Ushna,
Ushna,
heat.
heat.
Sukha,
Sukha,
happiness.
happiness.
Dukkeshu,
Dukeshu,
and distress.
and distress.
Tata,
Tata,
also.
also.
Mana,
Mana,
in honor.
in honor.
Apamanayo,
Apamanayo,
and dishonor.
and dishonor.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: for one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. But actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. When the mind is misled by the external illusory energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga systems, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. One has to abide by superior dictation. When one's mind is fixed on the superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of the Paramatma or Super Soul. Because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness, the devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. This state is practically samadhi or absorption in the Supreme. Translation once again: for one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. So, okay, we are in the series of the verses which speaks about mind. So it started like Uddaret Atmanatmanam, Atmanam Navasadayet, Atmaivahi, Atmano Bandir, Atmaivari Puratmanaha. It says that when one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself, and the mind is friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So the next verse it says about Bandhuratma Atmanastasya Enatmaivatmana Jitaha Anatmanastu Shatrutve Vartet Atmaiva Shatruvat. So this verse says about for him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So in the 6th chapter, first 9 verses, it speaks about the rising from Aroda to Aruruksha, like that the cycle of the yoga, there are stages Aruruksha to Aruda. So that these are the 2 stages. Beginning stage is called Aruruksha and advanced stage is called Aruda. Aruda is who is situated in that Ashtanga yoga. So how to rise from Aruruksha to Aruda, it speaks first 9 verses in the 6th chapter. So we are at present today we are discussing 7th verse. So it starts about the mind from Uddaret, 5th verse. So now we come to know one has to use the mind to promote themselves, not degrade, and at the same time one has to make with the mind friendship, not like enemy. So now in this verse Krishna is telling, so one who has so in this verse like Krishna is explaining the symptom of one who conquered the mind. So the previous verse it says who conquered the mind is friend to him, and if don't do so the mind is enemy to him. But now first case he is taking, and if anybody conquered the mind, what are the symptom of that person? So that is going to explain in 6.7. So it says jitatmanaha. So jita means like conquered, like jita means like victory. So jita atmanaha, here atma is used for the mind. So jitatmanaha, so one who has conquered the mind, prashantasya, he attained tranquility, peace. So it's not like a shanti. Shanti means the peace. Prashanti means like a deep, peaceful, deeply peaceful, not just only peace. So he attains one who conquered his mind, he attains prashantasya. So he attains deeply peaceful. Then what will happen? Paramatma samahitaha. Paramatma. So this is the first verse in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, he used a direct word Paramatma. So far in previous whatever we read the 5 chapters until 6.7. So the situations came to describe the absolute truth, but the word Paramatma comes directly. Krishna speaks in this verse. So first time the Paramatma comes. So Paramatma, so Prabhupada says Paramatma, Parama-atma means the super soul. So the super soul, samahitaha. So that person also, he not only become peaceful, but he attains Paramatma. He attains super soul. Then what happens? It goes in sequence. So Sitoshna, Sita means cold, Ushna means heat. Sukha Dukkha, so Sukha means happiness, Dukkha means misery. So Tata Mana Pamana Yo, so he sees everything as an equal. So how we will see that one? So here Samahitaha means one is approached. So the first verse in it says even Paramatma is going to directly refer in 13th chapter 23rd verse also. There Krishna speaks about Paramatma directly. So who is that super soul? So the verse goes like this: Upadrashta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehesmin Purushaha Param. So it says, yet in this body there is another transcendental enjoyer. And who is that? That is Lord. And he is a supreme proprietor. Bharta, Bhokta. He is a supreme enjoyer. And Maheshwaraha, he is the master. So, and who is the Upadrashta Hanumanta, and he is the overseer and permitter, and that who is known as super soul. So there in that verse 13:23, Krishna explains in detail the characteristics of like what are the, who is Paramatma and what he do and everything. So now we come to know like only the word Paramatma here used. Paramatma Samahitaha. So the conquered, the one who conquered the mind, they attains the Paramatma. So that's why he says here, Purush Paramatmeti Samahitaha. So then this super soul, like how we read like in Katha Upanishad, there is a reference saying that one soul and super soul are two birds sitting on a branch, and the soul ignores the super soul, and the soul always turns to the outward. So the soul entangled or become filled with his mind filled with the fantasy of material enjoyment, and the mind and soul the soul turns away to Krishna, turns away from Paramatma. So it's like this, the soul is facing outward. So the soul is facing outward. So the soul sees like a outward, it concentrates always outward, outside world, and the Paramatma is sitting and turning to the soul, waiting for the moment when the soul is going to turn so that I can help, like that. So that soul, the soul has a mind, that the mind is filled with the fantasy of material enjoyment, and that mind is the one which drags the soul away when we even birth after birth, that is a subtle body, the quality property of the subtle body, right? So wherever the mind, that's where we are in. So we may sit in this place and we think about something else, about some, because if I'm sitting here and thinking about some other place or some other consciousness, like mind is engaged in thinking of some other things, so I'm there only, not here, even though my physical body present here, so my mind is not here, so my thoughts are not here. So like that, the mind drags us. So the drags the mind due to the attachment or due to the attraction of this material enjoyment. So the mind drags the soul away. So what does it mean we need to conquer the mind? Means the mind, controlling the mind is nothing but, so what happens when we control the mind, as Krishna is saying here, so the force which is dragging us away from which dragging us away directly directing us away from the super soul, so that force, when we conquer the mind, it gets subside. Because if we say no to the mind, if we, due to the enlightened intelligence, if we are not listening to the mind, so then what will happen? The force of the mind is going to reduce. So today morning also we saw that video, right? So mind, what is it line I forgot? Mind may bark, but it cannot bite us. So that biting, so mind barks always with us, but getting bite from the mind is in our hands, whether we need to respond to the mind or listen to the mind or let mind listen to us. So all these options are there in our hand, but mind's quality is barking always, like, taking us always here and there. But that's why here this say the force of the mind dragging the soul away, it's the mind quality, sorry. But the force to reduce that force, like, if when mind says go and do that thing instead of this one, means we need to say to the mind, like, stop it, or something, like, give higher taste, or something, like something we need to find. So if we want to become a devotee, first we need to make our mind as a devotee. So then only, if mind is devotee, then definitely we will become a devotee, like that. So that's the thing. So when we make the mind to listen us, not like we listen to mind, so that is going to what is going to happen? The dragging force of the mind away from taking away the soul from the super soul, the force is going to the subside. Then what will happen? The degree of the subsiding, it increases. To that degree, the soul, as the mind, the soul is not listening to the mind, slowly it turns the soul, the mind thoughts to inward. So what does it mean? Inward means like a spiritual knowledge. So then the mind is going to think who and everything, like the soul is going to turn towards the super soul. That's why here this like this, and slowly we turn like that. When we control the mind, the mind is going to turn like that, so that the super soul can interact with the soul and guide the soul. So that's how it's saying. That's how it's saying that whoever conquer the mind, he is going to attain Paramatma, means he is going to turn towards the Paramatma. And then that is when the interaction happens between the soul and super soul. So that's why the soul who had conquered the mind, he attains the Paramatma, and he will approach towards to the super soul, and that's where the interaction, and Sri Krishna is going to guide us in the form of Paramatma. And at the same time, Krishna said in the third line and fourth line of this verse, so Krishna is talking about the duality: Sitoshna, Sukha Dukkha, Mana Apamana. So these three levels are in different levels, like three dualities are in different levels. So if we see Sita, Ushna. Sita means cold, Ushna means heat. So these two are on the level of the body, which is like not physical level. Sukha, Dukkha is mental level. So it's like, the definitions for Sukha, Dukkha may vary person to person. And so it's all mentally it depends on how to feel, what is happiness and what is distress and all. And third one is Mana Apamanayo. So Mana means the honor, Apamana is like a dishonor. So this is a level of ego. So these three dualities, like, one transcends. So the person who conquered the mind, he attains the Paramatma, that is super soul, and he transcends these three dualities, and he is situated in the transcendental mode. So that's what this verse is saying. So I'll stop here. If anybody have any comments for this verse, we will take. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Anyone want to comment or? If no one has any comments, I'll share my screen. We will read next verse, and it's 6.8. I'll read the verse. 6.8. Jnana Vijnana Truptatma Kutasto Vichitendriyaha Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi Samaloshtrasma Kanchanaha. Jnana Vijnana Truptatma Kutasto Vichitendriyaha Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi Samaloshtrasma Kanchanaha. So synonyms: jnana, by acquired knowledge; vijnana, the unrealized knowledge; trupta, satisfied; atma, a living entity; kutastaha, spiritually situated; Vichita Indriyaha, sensually controlled; Yuktaha, competent for self-realization; Iti, thus, Uchyate is said; Yogi, a mystic; Sama, equipoised; Loshtra, pebbles; Asma, stone; Kanchanaha, gold. Translation: a person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. Purport: book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless. This is stated as follows: Atha Sri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyai sevonmukhe jihvadau swayam eva spuradyataha. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord, or the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-2-234. This Bhagavad Gita is the science of Krishna consciousness. No one becomes Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship. One must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is in pure consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied with pure devotional service. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions, but by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. It is the realized soul who is actually self-centered, self-controlled. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. He is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones. Translation once again: a person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. Okay, continuation to that verse. This verse is saying, let's see the verse. It's saying Jnana Vijnana Truptatma. So Krishna now is going to extend, like, the quality of that controlled mind, who controlled the mind. So it says here, let's see the verse. Jnana Vijnana Truptatma. So Prabhupada translated Jnana is acquired knowledge, Vijnana is realized knowledge. We will see the difference between both two going forward. Jnana Vijnana Truptatma. So one who got that knowledge, Jnana and realization, both Vijnana. Such a person become Truptatma. Trupti means satisfaction. So, and what will happen that person? Kutasto Vichitendriyaha. So Kutastha means, like Prabhupada translated as spiritually situated. So that person is spiritually situated, not like spiritually situated, not like a materially disturbed situation. So he's situated in spiritual platform. Vichitendriyaha means that person has conquered the senses. Okay, and he conquered the senses. And yukta means here competent for self-realization. So he says like yukta means well situated or well connected. So Srila Prabhupada write like a competent for self-realization. So ityuchyate yogi, that person is equal vision, like a yogi, he is equal vision to all the material things. Like what are the things? Sama means equipoised, loshtra means pebbles, asma means stone, kanchanaha means gold. So the person who conquered the mind, like as explained in the previous verse, continuing here, and he gets the trupti, satisfaction, and he is spiritually situated, and he is all his senses he controlled vijitendriyaha, and he is called yukta yogi, means he is equipoised with all the things, three things: loshtrasma, kanchanaha, pebbles, stones, and gold. Let's see in detail like why, how the this it's going to happen. So it lost like stones, pebbles, and gold. It's like, you know, for the material person, the gold may be valuable, and for the stone may be like, you know, not like, it's a valueless. And for the devotee, that's what here it's saying, who is in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada is also saying, he has like, you know, all in the same vision. So how Prabhupada explains how that realization comes, like how the devotee is going to see all equal, and how he is developing all this detachment to all this gold and everything. So it's explained in the purport. Prabhupada said very first sentence of the purport is, book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless. So the person who is in Krishna consciousness, he read the scriptures and he follows the instructions of the acharyas, and he follow in the footsteps of the acharyas, which make the person to realize what is the supreme truth. So that realization, like, you know, if it is not there, but only book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless. So Prabhupada is stressing here, realization is very, very important. Vijnana is important. Jnana is not going, only jnana is useless. That's what Prabhupada is saying. So here the verse quoted from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So it says that one, Atha Shri Krishna Namati. So how can we get the transformation, that realization is, we need purification. And that purification, we know that when for human beings, there are 4 errors are there, like, you know, in that one is like uncontrolled senses or limited senses, like that. So with our limited senses, this verse is saying we can't able to perceive the Krishna's name, pastimes, and form and everything. But again, solution is giving. Atha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriye. So with our senses, limited senses, we can't perceive the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna. But the solution is sevon mukehi jihvadav. Jihva means tongue. Then what we need to do with the tongue? We need to engage that one in the service of Krishna, seva. So sevon unmukha. Unmukha means like, you know, we are vimukha. We turned out of Krishna. That's why we are here. So by engaging our tongue in the service of Krishna, we will become unmukha. Unmukha means interested, going towards to Krishna. So how that is, like, it's going to happen? See, that unmukha is going to give, like, by engaging the tongue, by taking prasadam, or by chanting holy names, or by sharing Krishna katha. So all these things are engaging the tongue first. It starts from the tongue. So by engaging tongue in that one, what will happen? We will become unmukha. From vimukha to we will become unmukha, which is like, you know, interesting towards to go closer to the Krishna. Then what will happen? Swayam eva spuradyataha. So here 2 things are there. So smaran means we consciously trying to remember Krishna, or to cultivate the remembrance of Krishna is called smaranam. So it means that in our part of our sadhana bhakti, we try to remember Krishna and we put our efforts, and seeing that efforts, Krishna reveals us. Okay, that is called smaranam. But here spuradyataha, swayam eva, swayam means Krishna himself. Spuradyataha means Krishna himself gives that remembrance to us. How that will happen? That will happen, for example, if we are swimming in a water and we want to go to that particular destination, we put our efforts. Okay, we put our efforts to move towards to the destination, but if some wave comes and pushes us towards to the destination, then what will happen? We reach the destination, but with the help of the wave, right? So that is the how the wave pushes us towards to the destination. That way Krishna is going to reveal us himself by seeing our efforts. That's spuradyataha. So that's the difference between smaranam means we put our own efforts to highest ability to cultivate the remembrance of Krishna. Swayam eva spuradyataha means this verse is saying how Krishna himself become pleased seeing our efforts, and he showered his mercy and revealed himself to us. So that's how that swayam eva spuradyataha comes. So we chant holy names. So how we try to remember Krishna, in the same way in the sadhana bhakti we do that one. But when Krishna becomes pleased, and what will happen? By our endeavor, he will send a wave, in a form of a devotees association, or in a form of any kind of our own interested service, or in a or any way Krishna send that wave in any way, so that with that wave we go closer to the Krishna. So that's how the Krishna's reciprocation is there here. Just we need to do is engage the tongue in the service of Krishna, and we have to put our endeavor. It's not only eating prasadam means eating and sitting. No, we need to engage our tongue in the service of Krishna, and sincerely we need to put our efforts. Then spuradyataha may come in the form of a wave. Okay, then now then coming back to the vijnana. So here how it says like a trupti, right? So how can we get the trupti means when we get the knowledge and we realize that Krishna is sweetness of Krishna, and that becomes truptatma. Otherwise, just by jnana, see, there are two things in this one: jnana, vijnana. Jnana means just by acquiring knowledge, listening, and at least keeping in our memory or intelligence and contemplating on that one. That's it. But not full conviction and not applying practically. Then until unless we apply, it won't happen, right? So that's why here it says vijnana means realize. We need to realize that one, practically we need to apply and realize. So going forward, we see about the three things. So then only what will happen? It will bring jnana, vijnana together. It will bring trupti to that person. Okay, then going forward, Prabhupada says, by transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions, but by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. So here Prabhupada is saying anyone can become very good degrees and achievements in the material life. But thing is, and only the material study, that's what Prabhupada is saying, mere academic knowledge, only that one is not going to give any kind of spiritual benediction. So only by transcendental knowledge means by realized knowledge. So that knowledge, what it makes is, for that person, it studies his convictions. Conviction means like a strong opinion about something. I did research, I contemplated, I read, I have a strong conviction this works like this, like that. It's a very strong conviction. Practically, I got the we do chemical experiment and we do conclusions or convictions. It's like that. Studying the spirituality, analyzing and reading, sharing, by all that thing we'll get one conclusion. That conclusion, all that kind of conclusions will become steady by transcendental knowledge. And that's what Prabhupada is saying here. So let's see that how now Jnana Vijnana Triptatma, such a person, how he sees like, all these three in equal. So for a materialistic person, gold is valuable and stone does not have any value. But the devotee, whatever he uses in the service of Krishna, he values that. Even if, for example, like when Prabhupada was constructing the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, that time, like, cement became like very not available so much, like, its demand, like, no, nothing is there, like, the stock supply is very less in the market. So what Prabhupada did, he valued that cement, and he treated the cement bags as a gold bags that time, like save the cements and giving instructions to the devotees how to use the effectively the cement in the construction, like that. So that means that Prabhupada was a sannyasi, but Prabhupada saw that cement is essential for the service of Krishna. So building a temple for Krishna, therefore, due to that one, he valued that cement, even though it's a material thing, but still, that's how the devotee sees whatever is useful for the service of Krishna, he values that one. So because Prabhupada that time, he saw the cement was like a devotional utility to please Krishna. So that's why, like, devotees sees neither gold nor stone, but Krishna's perspective, everything is same for them. If that is useful for Krishna, then they will value for everything. So related to this one, like there is a story of Sanatana Goswami, right? So one person goes to Sanatana Goswami and asks, Goswami, please give me valuable thing to me, like that. And then Sanatana Goswami says, shows to the dustbin and says, like, in the trash there is a touchstone, you take that one and go. Then the person takes the touchstone and goes back, and on the way he thought, like, why the Goswami kept the touchstone is like, by that one, whatever he touches, it turns into gold, then it's a very valuable thing. Why did he kept that touchstone in the trash? That means that he has more valuable than this. So he thought in that way, and he went back to Sanatana Goswami and said, Goswami, why did you kept this valuable touchstone in the trash instead of with you? Then he said, or do you have like more valuable than this one, like that? The person asks, and Sanatana Goswami says, yes, I have the more valuable, but to take that one, you need to leave this one. So he says that, then throw this one again to the dustbin and come back, I will give more valuable thing. So then he goes back and he throws the touchstone to the trash and comes back very eagerly. He asks, give me. Then Sanatana Goswami gives Harinam, like, that is the touchstone, spiritual transcendental gem. So he tells that is the most valuable thing on this, and that is the holy name. So that's how, like, devotees sees, like, they sees like even gold as a pebble, like, gold as a stone. So like this, that one I recollected with this one. And going forward, like, just to see this Vijnana Triptatma. So how we can make Jnana to Vijnana. So this is the way, like, we will discuss next 10 minutes. So Jnana, we read books and we listen, and how we can make that one to Vijnana. So there are 3 stages, that is hearing, contemplating, applying. So hearing means, Prabhupada said, normally I'll say first difference all these 3. First, hearing means we hear from ears, okay? And if we don't think about it, or if you don't contemplate, or if we don't again share or recollect, what will happen? Whatever we heard, it dies, like, it goes off. We can't remember all whatever we heard, but in and out, like a few things. That's why we say that when long back somewhere I heard someone said this, like that, because we may not paid attention, or we may not contemplated, or we may not like, meditated on that one. That's why we didn't remember. We hear a lot. So that's how the hearing stage. And then contemplation means we hear and we go further and contemplate on it. Then what will happen? Oh, some thoughts are there. We spend some stress of our thoughts on that here, whatever we heard, then it stick to the mind. Oh, okay, like that. Like, we don't get any convince, but okay, I got it, like that. Then applying. When the applying comes, then what will happen? that applying comes in practical. So it goes to the heart. So that's where we'll see. Let's see the taking an example of one thing. So if we hear if we, like scripture says, the sense gratification brings misery or leads to misery, and we hear, if a person who comes to and hear this one, he hears, if he don't contemplate or if you don't pay much attention to this phrase or anything, if he don't want to put any effort to think about it, what will happen in time duration? He forgets, and he keeps on living in his in their own way. But in a time duration, as he engaged in sense gratification, the like time will come like in a form of death or old age. That time he already performed a lot of activities for the sense gratification, then reaction comes, karma comes, all these things comes. So it's kind of like, neglecting the thought, neglecting the hearing, and going into the troubles. So if a person who hear this thing and contemplate on that one, oh really, sense gratification leads to misery? I never heard this one. I heard sense gratification leads to pleasure. That's how this all these ads in movies and everything, it leads us like, chill and enjoy the life. So that's how I heard. So at least putting some efforts, contradictory is there. So scriptures are saying something, I am practically seeing something in the world. Then what happens? Then the thinking starts, oh, how can I believe this one? I never heard this kind of thing. Then what will happen? So he connects and he contemplates, and okay, scriptures are saying, okay. Then if the person is interested, he puts some discussion with the devotees or something, he finds some source to go dig into that one. Then he that okay, like that he comes, but that is also still there in the mind only, like it don't go in like in a conviction. Oh, okay, I understand. Okay, sense gratification leads to misery. Then that is not going to help any person until unless he applies. Then only it's going to help him. Okay, now I heard and I understood, really sense gratification leads to misery, but still he has desire like sense gratification. Why can't I do this one? I still get happiness. So then it's not going to help anyway. He got jnana, but where is the practical applying? So he got jnana, but he is living according to his way only. The jnana is not going to help anyway. That's what Prabhupada said. Bookish knowledge without any realization is useless. So now comes the applying. Okay, now I come to know. Okay, I understand with all your examples and everything with the discussion. Okay, then when he gets some kind of situation where he is doing sense gratification, he applies. Oh, okay, I heard this one. I think this is going to lead me misery. And he starts thinking and actually take 4 regulative principles like intoxication and everything. Actually it says that when intoxication leads to misery, it harms ourselves, and with that one we harm others also, like drink like drunk and drive and hurt others, like that. So when that conviction, that kind of practical thing comes, when he applies that thing in practical in their life, then only it's going to help them. So like example, like I take like 4 things, like I'll tell 4 examples. How like scriptural examples are truly beneficial for us. Like map, if we take a map, we see the map from source and destination, but seeing that one is not going to use anything for us until unless I travel using that map. Then I get like I practically see, oh, that map is useful. Prescription, if we are got sick and if we go to doctor give the prescription of medication, until unless we use that medication, it's not going to cure me. If I just hear and leave, no, I need to apply, I need to follow the prescription, take the medicine, then only it's going to cure me. Then recipe. So if anybody want shared rasagulla, until unless I cook, I practically do that one, I can't enjoy rasagulla, right? So then manual, if anything is there, manual. So I read the manual, and if I can't, then what will happen? By using that manual, I come to know how to use the mission. So until unless I apply and read and apply it, then I can assemble the mission, and I can come to know how the mission is working. In the same way as the 4 examples are saying, so we need to practically apply the scriptural. So that's until unless we apply it, we don't perceive that benefit of that statements. So that's where here we need to transfer some jnana to vijnana. We need to maintain that and practically applying. So that's where here the 4 examples comes, and that's how, like, we the vijnana is going to help us to lead, make us closer to the Krishna. So the realized knowledge is going to help us a lot. So there are, like, to transfer this jnana to vijnana, there are 2 impediments, 2 obstacles. Those 2 are desires and doubts. So desires and doubts. So how the desires and doubts are impediments, obstacles, let's see. So desires originates from mind and it entraps us, and doubts originates from intelligence and entraps us. So how can we get rid of these 2 obstacles to make our jnana, whatever we read, to make to that realized stage? So to go to that one, how these 2 are impediments. So I found an article, Japa meditation by Radheshyam Prabhu. So just give me a second. I want to read that one. I'll share the screen and we will read that one. Before that one, like, if anybody have any comments or any questions. So for whatever I discussed. Hare Krishna. I'm unmuted.
It was a very nice explanation, Mataji.
Thank you, Sugopi. I think you added a comment. Yeah, it is in Nectar of Instruction. 5 levels of remembrance: recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smarana. Thank you for sharing that one, Sugopi. Yeah. So even for Smarana also there are, like, 5 stages. Even if you see in that purport, like, very detailed explain, like, each level in the purport of that verse in Nectar of Instruction. Okay. Any kind of I want to share realization definition. Realization means that which is a reality, we accept that it is a reality. I forgot to share. Realization means that one. We just, like, take that one as a accepting the reality as reality. That's what realization is. Go ahead if anybody have any comments. And meanwhile time I'll open that document. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So this is about the 2 Ds, 2 deviating Ds. It's a Japata given by Radheshyam Prabhu. I'll open it. Yeah, it starts from here. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, Mataji.
I can increase the font. Give me a second so that, like, So I'll share the, you can take a turns and read. Okay. It's a very nice article. So that's why I want to read this one. Okay. From here, if anyone would like to, they can start from Hare Krishna from here.
Hare Krishna. In development of the firm faith in the holy name, one has to be very careful in dealing with the desires in the mind and the doubts in our intelligence, because the desires, they dilute of our spiritual life. They deviate us from the goal of life. They disturb our minds as like if you're shaking a lens, you can never arrive at the focal point. Should I keep reading, Mataji, or
Yeah,
stop?
go ahead. Go ahead, Subhgopi.
Okay. Similarly, when mind is disturbed or if the desires are dilute, our intensity in spiritual life, or if they are deviating from the goal, then the Krishna conscious goal is not achieved. Therefore, anyabhilashita shunya. So the material desires should be driven out and replaced by spiritual desires. Kaya vacha manasa pravritti in spiritual life, and kaya vacha manasa nivritti of unfavorable items. By this, the mind's disease can be managed. Similarly, the doubts that reside in the intelligence have to be destroyed. Either the doubts destroy us or we destroy the doubts. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Samshayatma vinashyati. So if somebody remains a sanshayatma, that very same doubt will destroy his spiritual life. Just like there is a crack in a bridge, somebody reports to the railway authorities that here is a crack. If that crack is not repaired immediately, over a period of time, as we say, a stitch in time saves 9. If the repair is not done, sometimes the train is passing over the bridge repeatedly. One day that crack will grow into a catastrophe. It grows very fast and the whole bridge collapses, and there will be a terrible accident because it was not repaired on time. Should I keep going, Mataji?
If anybody want to read, let's check. If no one is there, you can go ahead.
I can read my.
Okay.
Similarly, the small doubts are like a spark of fire. They're not put off immediately. It is a matter of time. A small spark of fire can grow into a fragrant fire. Similarly, the doubts which start in a very small innocent way can grow into bigger doubts and even more doubts up to the point of choking the growth of devotee in spiritual life. So therefore Krishna says samshayatma shati. He says a doubting soul who doubts Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas, the scriptures, the deities, the holy places, the Vedic religion, and all these things, these doubts have to be cleared regularly. And it is not that today got the doubt cleared and now you are a pure devotee. No, new doubts will come. The old doubts will be gone and new doubts will come. According to the number of years you have spent or the number of books you have read, some amount of advancement you have made. There are devotees getting doubts about something at a lesser level, at a higher level, and even more higher level. Does someone else want to go?
Can I go, Mataji?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Even Yudhishthira Maharaj, such an exalted personality, has he doubt whether the war he did was proper or not? Despite Krishna and Vedvyas trying to convince him, he was not convinced until he was taken to Bhishma Pitama, and whose words were solace in him and convincing him.
Go ahead, Radhika.
So one can get doubt at a higher level. You can get a finer doubt, more advanced doubt you may get. Just like a mathematics student in LKG or 5th standard or 10th standard or BSc maths or MSc maths. Even decorate students have questions. There are many mathematical queries still unsolved also.
Anyone else?
I can read, Mataji.
Go ahead, Mataji.
So therefore, one should not keep the doubts. One should go on clearing the doubts, just like the beard and mustache keep coming. You keep cleaning them. Then only you can look clean. If you do not keep cleaning the mustache and beard, it will keep growing. So the doubts are to be cleared. Otherwise, the doubts can destroy the purpose of a devotee. So now, where do these doubts arise from? They arise from atheism, materialism, impersonalism, Buddhism, all these different ism. Actually, any ism which is cut off from the Lord, which does not put the Lord in the center, that ism is actually going to create doubts about devotional service. So therefore, we are living in a world surrounded by all this atheism, materialism, Buddhism, and impersonalism, Jainism, all these different ism, which actually do not account for loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya taught us Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in Chaitanya Shikshamrita that any religion that accepts God as a father and ourselves as the living entity who is servant of the Lord is a wonderful religion and we should appreciate. So there he says that Islam and Christianity, they both accept one supreme and subordinate of the living entities to the supreme. So such religion are wonderful, he says. And there are other religions like Buddhism and other ism which deny God or which deny surrender to God, or impersonalism, which is Jeev or God are one. So these kinds of religions should be abundant, he says. One cannot accept them.
Anyone
Mataji,
else?
yeah.
Okay, I'll read. So therefore, one can get rid of doubts by clearly studying this philosophy. One of the reasons Siddhanta Bhuliya Chitta Na Kare Alas. He says, for this reason only, one should be never lazy to study the philosophy. Pluck out the doubts and keep the fertile ground of the mind and heart fit for the devotional creeper to grow and produce fruits of Krishna Prema. And on one hand, the chanting of the holy name will also nourish our heart devotionally. On the other hand, studying the philosophy will pluck out all the unwanted doubts. In this way, a devotee should progress Prema Bhakti. Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasha Jati. The ignorance should be uprooted by the destruction of doubts. Then the glories of the holy name promised in the scriptures will be realized to be a true over a period of time. And that happens by a combined effort of the Guru's instruction and elevation of the super soul in the heart. And the sincere endeavors of the devotee to dovetail all the desires in Krishna's service, as well as to pluck out all the doubts. Then the holy name will no more be a theoretical phenomenon. Rather, it will become a realized, tangible experience for the devotee. Harinam Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
So this is the article which I found. So here it's saying like, two D's are two deviating D's. So desires and doubts. And as we discussed, desires are at the mind level and doubts are at intelligence level. So we need to pluck out the doubts whenever it comes. Otherwise, the doubts are going to obstruct the progress of the devotee. Whatever it comes, the doubts, like, we need to approach either Shastra or Sadhu. So Sadhu means it may be any senior devotee or any kind of devotees association. Shastra means the scriptures. So we need to come out of that one. So the clearance, how much will become clear about the samshayatma vinashyati. So whoever have the samshaya, the doubt, that is going to destroy us. Vinashyati means it's going to it won't allow us to progress in the spiritual life. So that's how this kind of doubts and desires or obstacles in the path of devotional service. And here Prabhuji says very clearly about the holy name. So chanting, it's not only theoretical phenomena, even scripture says that one, like, it's a it's a holy name is promised that we realize the Lord and we go closer to the Lord by chanting of the holy names. That's what like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu given for us. So by all doing all these things, as were explained in this verse, Jnana will become Vijnana. Vijnana is transcendental knowledge. As Prabhupada said in the purport, transcendental knowledge makes steady of our convictions. So conviction, when do we get a conviction? When we contemplate, when we studied, when we researched, then we are sure. See, now if anybody comes and say the devotees are there in the call, intoxication is good, means all the devotees here, they will say, they will give a big class how it is intoxication is bad. Means we all got convinced by the mercy of the spiritual master Srila Prabhupada and the scriptures very strongly. We are ready to quote the verses to give authentication, like how the intoxication is going to spoil the soul. So that is one of the example of conviction. It's not like we don't have convictions. So with a lot of conviction, we are sitting here by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So we need to increase that one till, like, how long we will live. It's not like one conviction is going to stop and that is enough for me. It's not like that. So as Prabhu says, old doubts goes, but when you progress, when we become like a little advancement in our spiritual life, new doubts comes again. So doubts won't go, doubts never go like till we die. So that doubts, whenever it comes, according to our time, place, circumstances, we need to get rid of that one. So that's where the holy name conviction, we will get, like, praying to the Nam Prabhu and Prabhupada. One day we will get that conviction that holy name is the ultimate protector. That, like, how the way the scripture says. So we may experience that one by putting our efforts in our daily sadhana, seeing that efforts, Krishna will relieve like Spuradhyataha. He will send a wave to understand that holy name is everything for you. Nam Prabhu is everything for you. That conviction we have to get on one day in our life. So that's where this practice, like, by these, removing these and rising jnana to vijnana, that is going to help us to steady our convictions. So that's what here the holy name, I want to end with the holy name, so that it will give our boost effect, like, kind of enthusiasm to our tomorrow's chanting. So holy name is everything. Holy name is promised that it is going to deliver us. Holy name is that scripture saying that when it is going to take us back to Goloka Vrindavan. That's where we are chanting. Even if we see Goloka chart, when the person that there is a holy name goes from earthly planet to the Goloka Vrindavan, if you observe. So that made me, like, if one person is chanting on the earth, Krishna who is there in Goloka Vrindavana can hear that one. So that conviction will come by making whatever we hear turning into realized knowledge. So I'll stop here. So if anybody want to share anything, they can share. Okay, its time is up and I took a little more time to read that article. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll offer prayers to all the devotees. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha ananta koti vaishnava ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Thank you so much.
Vallabhi Mataji.
Glory to Prabhupada. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.